Once again, Slick and Shiny Tongue-in-Cheek Productions takes you for an excursion through the past of one of our local places. This time we're looking once more at Penn, Pennsylvania, out there between Manor and Jeannette. This kind of gives you context for it. This is Penn, right here in the middle. Jeannette is over here, and Manor is over here. And sometimes people think of Penn as a suburb of Jeannette, but actually Penn was here first. So if you want to, you may think of Jeannette as a suburb of Penn. All is relative. This is a situation a good many years ago. This mapping was done in 1867, and Penn was then called Penn Station. And Jeannette then was called nothing. It didn't exist. No one even thought of it yet. But what they did think of, there was a lot of coal out here. You see coal outcrop, coal. People were very aware of the fact that there was a lot of coal out here. Matter of fact, that's why Penn was being built. You can see around here the Loechners. There's 4 farms out here under the Loechner name. And they were probably the children of an elder Loechner. One of the first people who were in Penn before it was even laid out into streets and digging coal there was a guy named Loechner. The guy who actually did start to lay it out was a guy named Oliver, J.H. Oliver. And he bought the land from a guy named Kiefer. Here's Kiefer right over here. He is also across this road. Oliver laid out this part of Penn below the tracks, and the area above the tracks was laid out by Penn Gas Coal Company. This is mapping from 1916, and I'm going to show you a couple things on here. We're going to start right up here at Harrison Avenue. The borough office is there now. I'm going to show you where the borough office used to be, down here. So we'll start by looking at Harrison Avenue. That's looking up Harrison Avenue. This was one of the old subways, one of those places you could walk underneath the railroad. It was very important back in the time when the trains were running a lot more often than they are now, about 150 or 200 feet over to the left here was the railroad station. And Harrison Avenue was a important street then. This is looking down Harrison, down to the railroad. Right over to the left here, you see the borough building. And that is a better shot of it. But the borough building didn't always used to be there. I'll refer to this map again. This is where we were looking at, just right up here. The borough building used to be right here, down on Carbon. Let's see if we can get a better map here. Okay. This is where the borough building is right now. There was a house there in 1916 when this map was made. And the borough building was down here on Carbon. Right here. Now let's look at that plot now. That's what's down there now. It's still a municipal plot of ground. It's a memorial now, but that's where the borough building and the fire house used to be, the place where they kept the fire trucks. I'll refer to this one again. This is what we were just looking at, this plot. Up over here across the railroad tracks is a building that is mapped, that wasn't even built yet. They mapped this from plans. But the building did eventually get built. And I'll show you a picture of it. It's a large 3-story building. It was then, when it was built, part of a lumber company, a building supply company and a planing mill. And that's what they were doing with this building then. And over the years, things have changed. In a way, things haven't changed because there's a company in there still doing woodwork. They make things for kitchens, like countertops, cupboards, and things like that. Now we get a look at a topo map from 1904. Let's see if we can focus in on this a little bit. This is Penn, known as Penn Station then. Coal was a big issue. First of all, the big issue, a railroad came through there, and then coal. One of the big mines was right down here, right down in this area, and we're going to take a look at that. This is the, I'm going to see if I can rotate that. That's the tipple. The Penn Gas Coal Company had their tipple down there. Penn Gas Coal Company was not just located in Penn. They were a big outfit, and they had a lot of mines in the area. At one point they had as many as 1,200 or 1,300 miners working for them. They were a rival to Westmoreland Coal until about 1918, when Westmoreland Coal bought them out, and Penn became part of Westmoreland Coal and maintained their holdings, and this mine was retained with the name of Penn. This is 1939. This is the main line of the railroad going through. Obviously, this is a shot taken from an airplane. This is Penn over here, Manor up here. And we're going to come in a little bit closer. This is Penn. This down here is that mine that I told you. Once again, I'm going to see if I can get in there a little closer. This is, or was, Penn Gas Coal Company's mine. And why the reason this road was called Coal Road. The mine in this year was no longer operating. In the early 30s, it was the beginning of the Depression, not a good time. This mine shut down, and we're going to move on now. Now that building shows up along the tracks. We'll see if we can show it to you. Right here, that building right here, that shows up along the tracks. This is actually one of the more historic buildings in Penn. And not all of it is still there. This part back there still remains, part of the Bellevue food merchandising outfit. This was built about 1870 by the Pennsylvania Railroad, and they put this up as a freight depot. It's somewhat of a mystery to me why they had such a large freight depot in Penn. It must have been a central place for them for doing shipping of freight. But as I said, this part of it is still there, and part of Bellevue operation here, warehousing. Now we take a look at a map from 1917. This is from an atlas. The red lines are the roads. The roads were becoming very important then because the automobile was starting to become important in 1917. The black line is the main line of the railroad going out here from Greensburg, Grapeville, Jeannette, and Penn, what we're looking at. Now, in addition to this heavy black line, which indicates the big main line of the railroad, you'll notice a thin black line and a dot right there. What this is all about, this was the trolley route. There were trolleys going out there. And maybe we can get a picture of, that's the kind of the older trolleys that were used. People who still remember trolleys might remember the larger ones, but back in the earlier days, these smaller ones were used. This is a laundry cart from the White Star Laundry up in Manor, doing its deliveries. Now this is here, just as in a sense a recap, but there are a few things I want to point out. This mapping is about 1916 or 15. This yellow area over here is Jeannette. This is Penn, what we are looking at. And the red line coming through is the Pennsylvania Railroad. J. Edgar Thompson, the chief engineer of the Pennsylvania Railroad, got his railroad into Pittsburgh by following Brush Creek. And this blue line is Brush Creek, and you see how the railroad follows that. Now, I put these colors on just to be able to identify these things. It makes it simpler. This green line coming out here is the streetcar. Came out from Jeannette, came into Penn, across the stream there, and then continued on out to Manor. And you also notice coal companies, Latrobe Coal, Penn Coal Company, Westmoreland Coal Company. Coal is really what built Penn and kept it together. And then after the early 30s, when the coal mines shut down, other things had to keep it together. A lot of people, I found out, worked at Westinghouse, which was somewhat of a surprise. And I think we've said about enough. And what we have in mind for next time is right down the tracks. We'll be talking about Manor. And so that's about it for now. Thanks for coming along on the trip, and we'll see you again. Bye now.